Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming to this press conference at short notice. But this is just an opportunity for us as the government to keep the public informed as to what's happening within government, and to communicate to you the pressing issues of the day. And as you know, one of the most pressing issues of the day for this government is the issue as it relates to value-added tax and our current government's stance or position on value-added tax. I also thought it important to hold this press conference specifically dealing with the response of the Minister Simmons' response to my letter to him requesting a delay of the implementation of VAT. And I know this is a response that the whole country was indeed waiting for, and also my government to know how we are going to proceed from here onwards. So even though I will not make this letter public at this time, I will see it fit to read excerpts from this letter so that you can get down to the true picture of basically what it is saying. And I'll go to the second page of a two-page letter. And it says that I have reflected on your proposal for a delay in the implementation of VAT. I judge that this would present significant risk. A delay at this stage would risk undermining the credibility of the government's commitment to VAT, particularly with those businesses that have invested in preparation. It would unlikely to diminish the opposition of those businesses who will have to pay tax for the first time or open their books or lose some of their benefits of excessive concessions they have obtained. It would create uncertainty about government revenue for 2013 and 2014 and require you prudently to curtail public expenditure further than would otherwise be necessary, and certainly to reduce it well below the levels set out in the draft fiscal and strategic policy statement, which assumes VAT is in place. And I am not convinced that the delay would make it easier for you to find and commit to the introduction of a credible alternative. I fear that a property or income tax would be likely to attract opposition at least as strong as VAT. I therefore welcome your proposal to submit to the Secretary of State a fiscal and strategic policy statement at the end of January. I expect this to set out your medium-term revenue raising and expenditure plans and thus enable us to conclude debate on VAT. This will enable your government to focus on implementation of your vision for TCI and on the preparation of a budget for 2013-2014. While you are finalizing this, I expect preparations for VAT implementation to continue at full speed, including investment in planned new IT so that it can take effect on April 1st. You may wish to consider ways to make introduction of VAT more acceptable. One option would be to enhance the TCIG's effort to explain VAT and so address the misunderstandings and misapprehensions of ordinary Turks and Caicos Islanders that VAT will significantly increase tax burden and the price of staple items. Another option would be to commit to a review of VAT after 1 year, including looking at the operation, exemptions, thresholds, and rates. In the context of this new review, it would of course be open to you to introduce additional and sustainable replacement taxation. I will be disappointed if you decide to give only tacit support for implementation of VAT while continuing to blame the interim administration for committing TCI to this policy. I am sure you will see that it will be vital for you and your ministers to facilitate effective implementation, since your expenditure plans will depend on this. If revenue were to fall short of projections, TCIG would have to take steps to reduce spending. I would like to conclude by saying how useful I found your broader discussions in the TCI in London, for example, on ways to develop TCI's economy, on education and health, and the likes. I don't need to cherry coat or sugarcoat any of that. But that's in essence the extract from a letter to me in response to my request for delay of implementation of VAT while we find alternatives. So I'd like to state, at this point in time, our government have consulted with a number of individuals and have put forward possible alternatives to VAT in terms of revenue raising methods and strategies, and that we are prepared to go to have even wider consultation on those, but those in itself do not represent new taxation policies. We are also in the position to complete our fiscal and strategic policy statement, as we committed to have ready for the end of January, as the minister stated, with hopes that that statement, which will be void of VAT, will be accepted by the Secretary of State. But from all indications from this letter, that they will be moving full speed to the implementation of VAT come April 1st, regardless of what we put forward. So in reading deep into this letter, I read this as a rejection of our request to have a delay in the implementation, and also I read this as a commitment on their part to the implementation of VAT, regardless of the objections by this government, regardless of the objections by the members of the opposition, regardless of the objection by the public and business community at large. I can dare say that we have been in dialogue with the members of the opposition who themselves are not happy with VAT and are not in support of VAT. And that was their position from day one during campaign, and there's no indication that that position has changed. And I'm sure they will speak for themselves very shortly in their statement on VAT, their position on VAT. And I'm sure we'll be working collaboratively with this government to make sure that VAT is not implemented against the wishes of the people. So that is our position at this point in time. The minister has spoken, and the governor is committed to moving full speed with VAT implementation. Thank you.
So, Mr. Premier, are you saying that you're still going to go ahead and present the proposal despite how you read and view this letter?
Oh, of course. I am going to go ahead and do everything I stated that I was going to do with regards to doing what the government think is right, is the right thing to do.
And in presenting this proposal, I mean, what are your thoughts? What kind of backing do you have? I noticed that we have in the room also Honorable Robinson and Honorable Aswood from the official opposition. Should we read into their presence as something, or are they guests?
I'm sure they will speak for themselves. Mr. Neil Smith is here as well. Maybe he's here in support of it too. Against the VAT implementation, of our stance on VAT.
Well, are they? I want to know from you. Are they here in support of?
I'm sure they're quite capable of speaking for themselves in short time. But I've stated already what my view of the opposition's position is, and there's no indication for me that has changed.
Are you discouraged in any way with finding an alternative for VAT, seeing as they are committed to implementing VAT?
But I'm discouraged in
any way in finding an alternative for VAT, seeing that they are committed to implementing that in April?
Well, what I am discouraged about is that a government that is democratically elected, with the opposition behind you and the people behind you, still will be denied the right to move forward on the wishes of the mandate of the people. And that is what I'm disappointed about.
And you mentioned some other alternatives. Are you able to say what those are that you?
Yeah, those alternatives we mentioned before. I think at this press conference, at our last press conference, and we also mentioned them at the recent Chamber of Commerce meeting. And I'm sure even opposition have contributed to, and they have their alternatives as well. But some of them are in sync to ours, some of them are maybe one or two are a little different. But by and large, we welcome any and all opportunities to collaboration with what are the best approach going forward, and that's what we've been doing.
And April 1st is less than 90 days away. Do you think that time plays a role in this? Do you think that time is an issue?
The time is indeed an issue, but we have already requested with it, in the House that there will possibly be a delay in the budget preparation to allow beyond April 1st because of this particular issue, which is critical. But government will still be able to function.
Were you confident before this response that they would, in fact, delay the implementation of VAT? Or did you already get a feeling that they would have said no?
I cannot say I could read into the hearts and the minds of the individuals concerned, but the most I could do is hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and I'm prepared for the worst.
And when did you get this letter, Mr. President?
Yesterday.
What is going to be done on the part of the government to prepare businesses, in particular small businesses, most of which would operate without an accountant? What is going to be done to prepare those businesses for this implementation of VAT, seeing as it's something that we obviously cannot prevent?
Well, as it stands, government that I know of as a government, we do not have a VAT implementation plan. Maybe I can be educated about it, but to my knowledge, we don't. And that's support as well.
Was there any indication given by the minister that they were going to roll out some sort of program to get us educated on VAT and how it is it's going to affect us, how businesses have to submit to it? Because obviously neither the elected government or the opposition had any plans on showing the public how these taxes are to be paid. So has there been an indication by the minister and on behalf of the UK on educating us on?
Nothing but him wanting us to support them in the education of the population on VAT. But I'll ask Mr. Mythic if you want to make a comment.
Basically, from my point of view, the demonstrable of the attitude of the British government. It says that we don't really have a good faith partner. it reinforces my view that an election was called because of international pressure, maybe, and we have been elected as window dressing, because for everything that has happened, there's absolutely no intention of having an elected government at this time, including the fact that the Premier doesn't even have an office in Provo. But speaking directly to value-added tax and any sort of taxation, it is a basic, fundamental principle of British democracy that only Parliament can enforce tax on the people. That goes back centuries, right? And what they're trying to do is against their own principles and their own common law. Whether it is good for us or bad for us, the people, the business communities generally oppose value-added tax. And he's written to the Premier suggesting that he's depending on us to educate the public. Well, it's not our business to educate the public on something we disagree with. And in fact, that is what they should have done at the very beginning. And that was never done. And I have no intention of educating the public. As far as I'm concerned, as far as we're concerned rather, our focus is on opposing this. We have credible alternatives that does not substantially alter the way we do business in this country and will raise far more revenue than they're projecting from value-added tax. And we've always said our focus is on growing this economy. We don't want to be a European economy. The European economies are shrinking, and all they're doing is trying every time they turn around is to soak the rich. And that is not the attitude we want to have in this country. We want to create an environment where people can prosper and do well, and we can help them to do well. If you look with the exception of maybe Germany, all of the British economy, all of the European economies are shrinking, and all they're doing is keep imposing taxation on people. And basically trying to find tax loopholes that don't even exist. We're not interested in that. You know, that's not the culture we want to encourage. We want to encourage, I'm more interested, our economy and our culture more closely aligned with the U.S. We don't want to impose taxation on people. And we have credible alternatives. And, we have a meeting this evening, a public meeting this evening, a community meeting or a town hall meeting, at which time we will say a lot more. But we have credible alternatives which we are sharing with our party opposite. Right? I don't particularly like using the word opposition party because we're all in this together. So our colleagues on the other side of the table, we're sharing the information with them, and we believe value-added tax is projected, or it is assumed that they will raise $10 million extra. Not all of the work is completed on our projections, and we're showing between $15 and $16 million of extra revenue. Without actually, they're about to spend $500,000 on a new software. If there was a genuine interest in working with us, right, would they go out and spend that money before we even had an opportunity to properly debate the merits or demerits of what we're proposing? It tells me that there's no genuine interest here in a partnership. They've made a decision. Egos are involved. And they're intent on pushing that down the throats of these people in this country. And I think we should all rebel against it. And I have no intention, and the governor can do what he likes. He's got the right to revoke my appointment, right, as Minister for Finance, and he can do that. He can call in his prosecutors, he can fill his jails, he can direct his courts. But as far as I'm concerned, I am opposed to value-added tax, and what we are proposing as a government and as a responsible parliament. We're proposing alternatives that make sense to us and will help to grow our economy and protect our people. And that's what I came here for. And that's what I intend to do.
Honorable Dwayne, that quite a bit of passion, and those I've heard come out of Honorable Missick during the press conference. Is this stance, is this attitude something that is mirrored by all of the members of your team? That you are definitely opposing and not interested in implementing VAT come April 1st?
Of course.
Still as a team.
When I speak, I speak for my government and every member thereof. So, and I'm sure there'll probably be opportunities to try to pick us apart, but that I'm sure wouldn't work. Honorable Missick stated a while ago, you can do all you can to stifle me and our freedom of speech. In many ways, you can't do it. I mean, I recently received, or when I announced this press conference, a mail from the governor seeking to find out exactly why am I having a press conference and what will be discussed. This is a democracy. All right. And now, and there is no provision in the Constitution that I know of that I need to inform the governor of everything I will say or do in the public, and how I communicate to the public. We are moving more into the Freedom of Information Act in that direction, not in the reverse. I said that I'm going to inform the people of what's happening in government every step of the way, whether or not it's our fault, whose fault, or whether or not it's our progress, whatever it is. I am committed to communicating to people.
So what's next, Honorable Premier? I know you have the meeting tonight. Are you going to respond to Minister Simmons in a letter about what the administration or maybe the entire government intends doing?
I don't think this letter requires a response. I will just continue to do what is required of us, which is to bring to the cabinet, which is scheduled for the next cabinet meeting, the fiscal and strategic policy statement, which will include the alternative to VAT, and to have that statement prepared and sent to the Secretary of State for approval, after which it will then be sent back down to the House of Assembly, at which time it will be debated. However, the minister can exercise the right to not approve the fiscal and strategic policy statement, and he can exercise that particular right. I think this is an important enough issue for us as a government and as a people to be debated in the House, and it will receive a debate in the House as to where do we move from here. As I said, I will await the I'm sure there are others who will have a position. I'm sure the opposition have a position, and I'm sure very shortly they will put forward their position, so that I wouldn't be speaking for anybody. They will speak for themselves on this issue.
Another question: if all else fails and VAT is indeed implemented on April 1st, he suggested that you review in a year. Do you commit to that? Reviewing VAT in a year?
You know, the people elected me to represent them. They elected me to fight whatever hurdles, obstacles there may be in their best interest. And if I truly believe in something, I go all out in fighting for that cause. regardless of whether or not it's detrimental to me. If indeed the only way VAT is implemented April 1st, if a repeal bill is vetoed, and even thereafter, I think this is important enough as a government for us to just not accept such veto and to still continue to fight it. Now that presents some challenges in the sense that as a government, you may find yourself in a budgetary conundrum, but from our view, that is what is best for the people. We feel so strongly about VAT. I'm not saying that VAT at some point in time, and if you, I don't know if there's ever, but at this point in time, it is not the best thing because we do have two alternate means of raising revenue that can match or surpass what VAT stands to bring in terms of revenue to this country. It may come a time when in the next year, if VAT is implemented, we'll continue to go at it to remove it.
The voice of the people is the voice of God. Right? And people are not happy with value-added tax. Right? And even if something as important as self-determination is determined sometime based on an election platform. Value-added tax, opposition to value-added tax was a part of the platform of the Progressive National Party and the PDM. So we send a strong message from the beginning. If there was a genuine interest in the partnership and they truly believe that value-added tax is the best thing for these islands, they would do what they're asking us to do. They've asked us to provide a evidence-based alternative. Well, I have seen no evidence, absolutely no evidence, that value-added tax is in our best interest. They have not provided evidence to us, and they have not provided evidence to the public, right? But if you put that aside, if there's genuine interest and respect for an elected government, and they would look to sitting down around a table and negotiate like they negotiate with any other group of people in their own country or in other nations, right? The heavy-handed disrespect and disregard for the wishes of the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands cannot continue. We cannot sit around and allow it to continue, even to the point of civil disobedience. We cannot sit around and allow ourselves to be emasculated by the United Kingdom because they hold a guarantee for us of $260 million, which we are doing everything we can to grow ourselves, grow this economy so we can finance that. We're also looking at ways how we can find alternative financing without having to use them as a guarantor. We've been in office for 2 months. For God's sakes, give us some opportunity, give us a time to work with our colleagues in the opposition and come up with a strategy and a structure in order to move this country forward. You know, this is their agenda. This is not ours. And so I think I just hope the public understands what is happening. And contrary to what Mr. Simmons may think, I am not sure of no significant sector of the economy, of the community, or the business community that supports value-added tax, or even, and if they're preparing for it, they're doing so very reluctantly. You know, so I just think it's really time to stand together. This tragedy cannot allow it to be to go on.
All right. So that's our position. and we'll continue to keep you updated. So stay tuned. Thank you.